So they're being told to make sure they're up at attention, up and ready to roll in this Prince Albert Challenge Cup event. Absolute steel faces there in the crew from Oxford Brookes University as they get under the starters' orders and underway here, ready to take on 2,112 metres in this Coxed Student Falls event, the Prince Albert Challenge Cup. Newcastle University, the blue star on the left of your picture, and Oxford Brookes University on the right-hand side of your picture. Very aggressive there from Newcastle, Fergus.
That is just the start that Angelo Savarino will be wanting from these boys. If they're going to beat this Brookes crew, they've got to do it early on and get their bows out in front. I can guarantee there'll be no better feeling than getting to the end of the island with their bows out in front. And it looks like that's exactly what they've managed to do against Oxford Brookes. Yeah,
it's very close here. Oxford Brookes biding their time here. I'm sure we'll see more showing from them later on down the course. But Newcastle University, like you say, Angelo Savarino's programme that has produced a couple of wins in this event, the Prince Albert Challenge Cup, just dropping back slightly. And, you know, I guess, Fergus, having been part of this Newcastle programme, what do you tend to see from a Newcastle race plan?
I think what you're going to see is an incredibly stubborn crew throughout this race. Whilst we see Brookes starting to settle into their rhythm quite early on and look to try and etch away from Newcastle, they're going to stick with them throughout this race, and particularly in the second half. We've seen some monumental sprints from Newcastle in recent years, particularly in the Temple against Brown, and they'll certainly be looking to channel some of that energy. You can see them, they're absolutely going for it in the early stages of this race. Some tough showings for them at Marlow Regatta, Brookes getting the better of them there, Newcastle just slipping down into the B final of that event. But there's certainly, of all the races to come back and bounce back and have a bit of redemption, this is the one to do it in.
Yeah, Oxford Brookes here on the near side of your picture. They've gotten out to a length, and that stubbornness already starting to show, Fergus. They're not letting them get away. They're going to pester them the whole way down at this course, and great shots there of Oxford Brookes. Now, Oxford Brookes, a programme where this crew here in the Prince Albert is some of their kind of lower ranked athletes, but still coming here possibly as one of the favourites in this event. Yeah, certainly. They come here having won at Met Regatta, and the statistic that stands out to me is that all of these athletes were inside the top 11 crews at the head of the river race back in March, and that just shows the depth that this programme is able to churn out year after year. We've seen it with the men for so many years, and we're starting to see it with the women as well. 3 crews in the island for their programme, and that depth is on display right now. Yeah, the head of the river race, that's the sort of peak of the winter season for not only university crews, but for most programmes on the men's side, and there's a women's equivalent, the women's 8's head of the river. But the Newcastle crew here will have to contend with some of those earlier season results. This Newcastle crew, a decent showing at the British University Championships, where they're 8th placed in the top 5 at that event, to the fate of Oxford Brookes, who finished ahead of them. But still, these are the strongest 4 guys from Newcastle. Edward Peacock in the coxswain seat, Benjamin Brockway at stroke, George Pryor, Tom Bromwell and Aidan Wilson in the bows, going up against Oxford Brookes. And the Brookes crew now just coming into view of Fawley, and a little look over the shoulder there from the Cox, who Bakang Zondi, the South African, who finished in the final of the 2018 Junior World Championship, so coxing at international level experience there for South Africa, and now guiding Oxford Brookes to a comfortable margin here at the halfway point. Yeah, that Brookes crew at the moment, they've just managed to break clear of Newcastle. Clear water now, and they're just so calm, so relaxed in those shoulders, and it's just looking effortless at this point. Just compare and contrast that to Newcastle at the moment, as they're hurtling down the course as best as they possibly can, with faces that are certainly hurting at this stage of the competition. And just that shot there of Oxford Brookes University out in front, exactly where they want to be at this stage of the race. And while Clearwater, it's a tough way to come back from, I'm certainly hoping that they can claw themselves back into it at this stage, but this is very much Oxford Brookes' race to lose. Yeah, it is, and again, we must really compliment the sort of integrity structure of the Oxford Brookes programme that just continues to deliver year on year on year. And in this PA event, really recent victors. In fact, was it last year that they won the Prince Albert Challenge Cup? I'm furiously just trying to remember here, but you know, again, they've had that name on the trophy within recent history.
Yeah, they are one of the standout programs that keep coming back year after year. They won this event last year, 2022 victors, and we see them so often picking up the Temple Challenge Cup, and they've branched out in recent years as well, winning the Ladies Challenge Plate as well, overhauling Leander, who are traditionally the victors in that year after year. And here they are doing what they do best, and that is dominating the student events.
Yeah, and you can just see here the relaxation, the glide that they've managed to sort of establish by bringing that rating down. And you can see in the launch there, coach Henry Webb looking on, just coming into focus, a sort of mastermind as part of the Brookes program. He's been with them for so long, and you know, right there at the front of the launch, watching them dominate this event.
Yeah, that'll be a very happy man in that launch at the moment. His crew out in front and just able to take that rate down into stewards. It's not one I've experienced, but I imagine coming into stewards, underrating your opposition out in front like this, it's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah, and Newcastle continue to keep the pace high, keep the stroke rating high, but perhaps just you know, losing a little bit of distance per stroke by continuing to work really, really hard. Oxford Brookes, that almost looks like it's in slow motion, doesn't it? That's absolutely crazy that they are leading by so much and at such a low stroke rate.
Yeah, very impressive stuff from Oxford Brookes. We can see Newcastle there in the background. All four of these boys will be back next year having another crack at the regatta. Newcastle, all four of their top four are back, but most importantly for them, 11 out of their top 12 athletes are staying either in first or second year of their university programs at the moment, or coming back for a master's. So it's a young squad at the moment. It's a squad that has a huge amount of potential there. Tom Brumwell there in particular at 2 has got a huge amount of potential, and Ben Brockway, who's stroking it, has come on leaps and bounds this year. He's obviously a graduate of Shiplake College as well, just down the road, and these boys certainly back and hungry for more next year.
Yeah, they'll be returning to the Tyne with a bit between their teeth to train once again, but it looks to be an exit here with no disasters from Oxford Brookes, of course, in these final 20 strokes or so. Just approaching the progress board now, we can see the ominous glasses there of Zondi in the coxswain seat. They've allowed Newcastle to close all the way back up. It will be a length over the line, but they've done just enough here to keep themselves in check, reserving energy for the later stages of this competition, because, you know, the previous race we just saw there, Triton, really quality crew from the Netherlands, and plenty of others that will be coming into the latter stages of competition. So that will be Oxford Brookes University over Newcastle there. And Fergus, you know, again, both of these crews, like I say, no strangers to the Prince Albert Challenge Cup, but probably the expected result. Yeah,
I think it was, as I said at the beginning, Oxford Brookes, the favourite arguably for the entire event. And what's so fascinating is that you look across the Temple Challenge Cup, across the Prince Albert Challenge Cup, and both of them are, in my opinion, equally difficult to win this year. Quite often you have one that is perhaps slightly easier, but this year, to win the Temple, or to win the PA in this case, this Brookes crew is going to have to work incredibly hard over the next few rounds.